Kravitz. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 8 of Horsin Around here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz. Thank you very much for joining us tonight with my wonderful co-host coming on here in just a second, Noah Maher from Betting and Boozin'. I'm a little, anyone a little tired, a little sleepy from yesterday's Super Bowl? Anyway, we've got a great show tonight. We're going to be talking about some horse racing, recapping the Sam F. Davis from Tampa Bay Derby Prep, also an exciting allowance race with a very talented Baffert horse in Maymoon from Santa Anita. We're also going to do a real quick mini preview of the Risen Star Stakes at the fairgrounds and then talk about the Super Bowl. And I'm going to do all that with my wonderful co-host from Betting and Boozin', Mr. Noah Maher. Noah, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. It's the start of a yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead. A little delay. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say today's the start of a big week for us here on the podcast. So let's start it off with a bang.
Real big. We're having a few technical difficulties, everyone, so bear with us. We got the little squirrels running around in the cage causing problems. So if we have a little tech issues or delay, we apologize. But yeah, we got a huge show, a huge week here on the podcast. First of all, make sure you follow me on X right there at @HKravitz. Also at the bottom of the screen, email hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Smash that like button below the video player and the which is the thumbs up button, of course. And then we'd love to hear you subscribe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen as well. No, when's Betting and Boozin'? Are you guys going tomorrow or Wednesday? I didn't even ask you before the show. Which one is it?
I believe it is tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern. We will be covering the Laurel Stakes for Saturday. I'm not sure exactly what the stakes races are, but I heard they have a good card, so we're going to be covering that tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, there's actually many really good races. I understand there's a little bit of lag right now. I don't know what's going on. Just bear with us, folks. There are a lot of really good races at Laurel this Saturday, but the big story of the week, of course, are the races at the fairgrounds with a horse named Sierra Leone, who is of very strong interest to everyone in the podcast for a lot of reasons. So we're going to talk a little bit about that race as well. So a lot to talk about. Before we get into the previews, real quick, Noah, let me just say two things. There's going to be a video coming out this week as we are going to announce the HHH Racing Podcast merch store number 2 is coming out with a very cool special deal, Noah, where every single person who purchases merchandise from the store has a chance to get, are we ready? Free merch. That's right. Free merch. Very possible. So wait for that video to come out. We'll tell you all about it, but we're really excited about that. And then also I'm traveling. My schedule's a little different. I'm traveling to LA actually this upcoming weekend to visit my brother and sister-in-law. So I will not actually be on the live podcast Thursday, but it'll be in the very capable hands of a Pete Visco and a Paul Halloran. Plus, of course, Paul's famous rant of the week, which was extremely popular last week. Who knows what he's going to rant about this week? No, I actually have no idea, but it's going to be a great show. We're really excited. Now, let's get right into the recaps. The first recap that we're going to talk about is the Sam F. Davis, which was the major 20-point prep at Tampa Bay. I'm going to go ahead and just show the results here, and then we'll talk very quickly about the race. Let me go ahead and present it on the screen here. Of course, it was won by an Iowa bred. How about that, Noah? An Iowa bred in no more time. You can see on the top of the screen paid $860. Actually went off the favorite, Noah, which is, boy, was this a they knew kind of situation. 10-1 morning line goes off the favorite. Agate Road was second. West Saratoga third. We're going Go ahead and I'm going to show the replay, Noah. This was Paco Lopez going wire to wire. We're not going to show the whole race. I'm just going to take it mainly to the mid stretch and beyond. But, he got the lead. Change of command was sort of in between horses here. You see the 9, who was a very popular horse here. And Agate Road is really far back. Your initial thoughts of this race, Noah?
Yeah, I thought it was a good run from No More Time. It looked like they were going pretty fast early, and he didn't really get a breather. I mean, Change of Command and West Saratoga were pretty much, just off his flank the entire race. Change of Command was definitely disappointing. I mean, right there at that point in the race, you knew that he just wasn't going to fire. But No More Time, Paco just kind of got into the lead, and he did what he did, and like you touched on, when a 10-1 gets bet down to 3-1, normally they do know and they do win.
And here's Agate Road for the Rapoli and Pletcher making a big late run. No one really made a big run, but he made, other than Agate Road, looks like he might want more ground. The Buyer did not come back. There's the finish there. It's pretty much a 2-horse race. You see West Saratoga and a sprinter stretching out. Elysian Fields gets 4th. Let's take a look at the Buyer here. I don't think this is going to scare anyone in the Kentucky Derby trail necessarily, but these horses can improve. We'll go ahead and see the Buyer. The Buyer here was 80. Agate Road got a 78, so there was a Buyer top for No More Time. West Saratoga gets 3rd. The fractions were pretty quick, 23, 46, 110, and 4. They came home a little bit slow, and the one thing I do want to point out, now you look at the standard chart here. If you look carefully, No More Time was in 1st at the half-mile pole. West Saratoga, who finished 3rd, was in 3rd, but Agate Road was in 11th. So Agate Road was really the only one who closed, and he ran a really nice race. If you look at the whole field in its entirety, the big question I have, is twofold. One is, how much is there with No More Time? Is this a horse can actually be a factor in the Kentucky Derby? Preps and the bigger preps and even the Derby itself. And then number 2, is Agate Road a turf horse or a dirt horse? Let's start with No More Time. What do you think about him going forward?
Going forward, I mean, you'd kind of like to see a little bit more of a progression. I mean, at this stage, you've got other horses and other preps that have run, low, mid 90s, and that 80 is just kind of not going to cut it. But give props and No More Time and Jose D'Angelo for picking the right spot. They opted to go here instead of running in the Holy Bowl against Fierceness, which I guess probably wouldn't have been the worst idea. To answer that question, and then moving on to the next one, Agate Road has always kind of shown talent. And they tried to start him on the turf, and he did run his debut on the dirt. But when he kind of took off, was on the turf, and he won some really nice races, won the Pilgrim, although that wasn't, a great field, and he's in the Breeders' Cup. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where Pletcher kind of goes. It's kind of on the fence whether kind of it was a convincing, performance to kind of keep him on the trail, or whether or not, it's like, hey, maybe that field wasn't great. Maybe he should have beat that. If he was a legit contender, maybe he goes by, maybe it's a little too far back. Just a lot of questions. So it'll be interesting where Pletcher kind of goes with them from here.
Yeah, I mean, he's bred more for dirt, but Pletcher, the first race was on dirt, but it was scratched off the turf, Noah. So when Pletcher's got a $650,000 horse that he's putting pretty much immediately on the turf, you got to think he's a turf horse. But let's say you're the owner. Let's say you're St. Elias Stale, or you're palling up with Mike Rapoli, and Todd says, what do you guys want to do? What would you, if you own this horse, would you continue on the Derby trail or just focus on turf racing? What would you do?
I might try one more on the dirt. I just think Jose had a little too far back. And if that's the case and he's rolling late, maybe he wants that more distance. Maybe he can try a Derby prep at 1 1/8 or maybe even longer. Just kind of see how it goes. I mean, he's kind of proven on the turf, so you kind of know what he can do, and maybe give him one more chance and see what he's made of.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Derby fever, as Paul Halloran likes to say. Michael Austin is here, by the way. Tough on your bank account. Sorry, Michael. It goes that way sometimes. My day Saturday was up and down. Okay. Yesterday, I was in line for some very nice scores, but it did not happen, including San Nita and the cross country. But anyway, and then we'll talk about the Super Bowl a little bit. But we got Bedry's here. What's up, Bedry? Good evening, gentlemen. Let's see. We've got Matt Miller. Matt, what's up, Matt? How are you doing? Why abandon the Derby Trail? Might as well continue trying. I get it. I'm going to push back on Matt and you a little bit, Noah. I think he's a turf horse. I don't think he's nearly good enough for dirt. And the other reason is there's some really nice turf races with big purses. Of course, New York's got that series of really nice turf races, and they're very long distance turf races too, Noah, for 3-year-olds. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think he's a turf horse. I'm sure they'll make the right decision. We shall see. It'll be actually quite interesting to see what they do with Agate Road. In general, I'd say it's a pretty cool story, though. When an Iowa bred wins a Kentucky Derby prep, I'd say overall it's a cool thing. Good for Delgado and Paco and the connections there. Let's go ahead, Noah, and talk about the next race. Now, this next race, sorry, man. I had no idea that you had anything going on with this race at all until we texted each other yesterday. I said that I was actually alive to a pretty big pick 5. And the reason why we're showing this race, Noah, we're talking about it, is because Maymoon for Baffert is a seriously talented 3-year-old who went off at 30 cents of the dollar. And I know that I found out later, I singled that horse, which is no great shakes. I mean, he was 30 cents the dollar. But I found out later you needed imagination. Maymoon freaked in his debut. This was his first 2-turn effort. What happens in the first turn here, Noah? First of all, he's on the lead.
Yeah, he gets a little goofy, and he kind of wants to go to the right a little bit, just a little swerve to make it a little interesting. But after that, he seems fine, and he's stretching out for the first time, and it's Baffert, so obviously he's going to have some speed, and you see Imagination's the 4 right here. Imagination looked like he had a lot of horse. I think Pratt was riding him yesterday, but at this point, these two kind of start to duke it out, and they're pretty much inseparable until they get to the wire.
Yeah, they went slow early. It's pretty much a sprint. I think Pratt said maybe got intimidated by Imagination right there. And right here, well, let me move forward. I'd say about like right here, you had to think, okay, it's not over, but I'm looking pretty good. And unfortunately for you, this is maybe a half body length. I mean, it's hard to tell by the pan. But I mean, he's clearly got it reminds me a little bit of Cyril Leone actually in the Remsen, right? I mean, he's got a lead. There's no doubt about it. Even right here, but this is a really nice fight back. And I want you to watch the gallop out. No, this is what tells me that Maymoon's just a much better animal. Because once he figured it out, this gallop out was ridiculously good. Right here, as he's galloping out comfortably. I mean, he's got a lot more left. So when you saw that, no, obviously you were very disappointed. When I see that as a handicapper, that tells me Maymoon was just immature and a little goofy, but certainly the better horse.
Yeah, Maymoon's just one of those typical horses that just wants to keep going. He's gonna start running, and he's not gonna kind of stretch his legs and find that 5th and 6th gear until those last couple furlongs. Personally, I always kind of am a little bit skeptical to take those horses that pop that big buyer, especially when it's a sprint, whether it's 5.5, 6.5. And I've always been a big fan of Imagination. So unfortunately, I tried to get cute and put Imagination as an A and Maymun as a B. I've been playing ABC the last couple of weeks, and I've found a little success. So I've tried to kind of pick my spots and get a little cute and try and get the most out of my value. So if Imagination had got his nose in front, I think I ended up with 3 Bs and 2 As. And if Imagination had gone by it, I think it ended up paying the late pick 5 was over 3,000 and probably 2-3 times more with Imagination. So that was It was
It was,
definitely
yeah.
it was definitely a unenjoyable afternoon for me.
Yeah, sorry. Well, as you know, I lost the penultimate leg to a horse that hadn't raced in 2.5 years. So,
Yeah,
that, that- that's the
yeah.
way it goes. Matt Miller says, I believe there was another monster show bet made on May Moon. Someone has been doing that with increasing regularity in Southern California. Too scary for me. There was a big show bet on Fierceness, by the way, in the Gulfstream race that lost. So bridge jumpers, oof, you gotta be careful. How good is this horse? No, now obviously he won't be in the Derby with the whole Baffert situation. This is a $900,000 frosted out of an Indian Charlie mare owned by Zidane. I mean, it's probably not fair to compare this horse to Nysos, but I would think this horse is going to get better too and be a factor in the big three-year-old races after the Derby as well.
Yeah, you think he's got to be. Maymun, you just add him to the list of the Baffert prospects that aren't able to run this year. But yeah, I mean he's really done nothing wrong. Last time he kind of answered the question of the 2 turns, and he showed a little heart too, which you kind of like to see in a young horse. So maybe he'll have that natural progression, and we'll see where he goes.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting to see what happened. I talked about the Derby situation, or we did last week on Horsin Around. Check that show out, episode 7 last weekend, where myself, Charlie, and Chris Couples, who did a great job as our guest from In the Money Media, was with us, who writes the blog for Gulfstream. We talked about the Derby situation, and I gave my take on it, and so it's going to be interesting to see going forward. But selfishly for me, and for you actually, Noah, as well, because you have a piece of Sierra Leone. I hope Baffert keeps winning, because I want him to keep taking those points away from other horses. That makes our job on Sierra Leone slightly easier. Again, I know Noah's internet's going in and out a little bit, which is very bizarre because it's never happened in like the 40 shows that Noah's been on here.
I
So I
know,
apologize to
of
everybody
course.
for a little bit of lag. So maybe well, I was going to make a UK reference, but I think I'll leave that
Oh,
alone.
geez. Yeah, we don't need to go there tonight. Maybe tomorrow
No,
night.
we don't need to go there. By the way, shout out to your family who was in town. Noah, I'm sure that was nice to see your family from all over the country. Actually, very cool. You have a few older sisters, and you're both your parents, so you had a nice time this weekend.
Yeah, it was nice to see them. They've kind of made it a point to. It's my sophomore year here at UK. So last year they kind of make their own like family weekend where they pick a weekend. I think last year was kind of end of January. This year was beginning of February. So they kind of pick a weekend. They meet up. We go to a basketball game. We went to one last year. We went to one this year. We ended up playing Gonzaga this year, and unfortunately, it was our. What did you say before the show? Our third loss, our third home loss in a row since 1960 something.
I think the 70s since Rupp opened, apparently.
Yeah, it's perfect timing, of course, for the family to come experience a historical event. But other than that, it was a great weekend, a lot of late nights. So I apologize if I sound a little tired. Along with the Wi-Fi, we don't really know what's going on, but we're fighting through.
You're good. And you're a college student. You're allowed to be a little tired once in a while. Let's talk about this weekend, because this Saturday, Noah, is by far, and this is not being, what's the word? Sierra Leone's running in the race, so I'm not trying to play favorites here. This is by far the best Derby prep we've seen all year so far, and I'm going to venture to say it's going to be one of the best Derby preps even going forward, even though it's only a 50-point Derby prep, and there are 100-point Derby preps, but this field, Noah, whoa! Let's go ahead and bring it up. The Risen Star is a grade 2. It's going to be this Saturday. We're not going to deep dive right now. No, we're going to deep dive on the show Thursday. Pete and Paul will deep dive, and also I have a second video coming out this week, solo video taped, where I'm going to speak about 5 or 6 minutes, in my opinion, of the Risen Star. I'll break down the field. I'll say who's going to win. You can find that on our YouTube channel, HHH Racing Podcast, of course, on YouTube, and also the merch store video. So Noah and everyone, there's going to be 2 videos out that I'm going to film probably tomorrow night, and those will be out this week. So make sure you check X, or of course the YouTube channel, for information on my opinion on the Risen Star details and details about the merch store and the great offer that we have. We appreciate there are a lot of people watching. About Horsey Davis here right now. What's up, Horsey? Says Sierra Leone will have a heck of a test this weekend. No, yes, absolutely. Let's bring up the field. And Noah, I've got inside intel because the morning lines are not out yet officially to the public. But guess what? I got them. So I'll tell you what the morning lines are as well. So here we go. Here's the field for the Risen Star. It's going to take place actually at night, technically, depending on where you live. 7:17 Eastern. Again, 7:17 Eastern on Saturday. It's a grade 2. It is a 50-point prep, 5-0. So it's 50 points. Let's put us on the screen. 50 points for the winner, 25 for second, 15 for third, 10 for fourth, and 5 for fifth. So the winner of this race, now, is basically in the Derby. I mean, without a doubt. And in fact, the second place finisher is probably in the Derby if they already have points, because it looks like 30 points has a good shot to make the Derby this year, no, based on what's going on with Baffer and a few other things. But here's the field. I will show the PPs as well. It's a big field of 12, highlighted by a few horses. The number 4, Sierra Leone, Chad and Gaff Leone. You also have Hall of Fame for Asmussen, the 7 for Santana, who ran a freaky good maiden race last time. Catching Freedom won a race at Oaklawn for Cox and Saez. Track Phantom's been on a roll at the fairgrounds. The other, Asmussen Cardinal, is a nice horse for Pletcher. Anna Marie, the 3, won a stake at Churchill in November. This field, Noah, is absolutely loaded. It's going to be a war. Your general thoughts when you saw this field, and I'll start showing some PPs as well.
Yeah, it's you kind of said it. It's going to be a test. Yeah, you're going to bring up the odds. I mean, I can't imagine there's going to be someone on the morning line less than 5-2. I'd say 5-2, 3-1 would probably be my guess.
I'll actually roll through the field real quick, and I'll give the odds as I go through the field. Okay. And we'll talk for a few minutes. And then after this, everyone, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl just for a little bit. Tiz Indy is 50, 5-0-1. I'm going to go slowly so everyone can watch it. Awesome Ruta is 30-1, or will be 30-1 morning line. Anna Marie is 6-1 morning line, coming off the Jockey Club victory at Churchill in November. Sierra Leone, there's our guy, 4-1. He's going to be. Moonlight, who, by the way, is cross-entered, Noah, in an allowance race at the fairgrounds earlier in the card. We'll see what Todd decides to do. He's 12-1. Let me go full screen here. He's 12-1 morning line if he runs. Real Men Violin is 8-1, finishing second to Anna Marie. There's Hall of Fame, who ran a big number last time. Hall of Fame is 6-1 morning line. Catching Freedom is 5-1 morning line, calling for Smarty Jones. Cardinal 12-1 for Pletcher. Resilience for Mott is also 12-1. There's Track Phantom, who I think will be the post-time favorite, but I could be wrong. He is the morning line favorite, no, at 7-2. And then you've got B Dancer on the outside for Dallas Stewart coming off a maiden win at 20-1. Let's talk about Sierra Leone real quick. Again, we're not going to break down this in detail. Sierra Leone, of course, is a horse that everyone in the podcast has a future bet on. Yours truly has a large future bet on him, in for a lot of money. He needs to be more tactical, Noah. He can't be closing from the back. He doesn't have blinkers on. He's been working steadily since the Remsen. Your overall thoughts on this horse, trying to give an unbiased opinion, if that's possible.
Yeah, no, I feel like the 4-1 is pretty accurate. You know, like you said, he's not going to be able to close from like he did last race. This is too good of a field, and that's probably why Chad put the blinkers on. It's probably a good move. But to his advantage, I feel like fairgrounds could suit him pretty well, just because they do have that long stretch. But it's going to be interesting because you've got some horses that have kind of proven themselves, like Track Phantom. You've got horses that are kind of up and coming. You know, they pop that one number. They kind of prove it again, which is kind of like, you know, Hall of Fame. I was actually surprised by the 6-1 on Hall of Fame. I feel like he's going to take money.
Oh yeah.
Just because Track Phantom has points and Hall of Fame doesn't. So I think, Asmussen can kind of play a little game there. But yeah, I think
these guys don't do that, do they, Noah?
No.
I'm showing, by the way, that on the top right of the screen, I'm showing the pace flow here. Again, Sierra Leone is the 4. He can't be that far back, Noah. I mean, the only reason he can be that far back and win, or at least be in the money in this field, is if it totally melts down. I think it's going to be an honest pace. I don't think it's going to be blazing. And one of the reasons is because two of the horses that look like they sort of want the lead to some extent are both Asmussen, so they're certainly not going to hook up. I'm hoping Sierra Leone is more like where the 5 and 6 Chicklets are. No, more mid-pack is my personal hope.
Yeah, you'll hope that you can only hope that he'll be there. So I mean, you'll hope that what Chad's kind of done with the progression, as long as the blinkers, both of them can kind of merge and kind of get him in that spot. Because if you let one of these Asmussen horses get loose, which having two can be very possible, then it's going to make it all that much harder to kind of try and catch them.
Noah, your gut feeling between the two Asmussens, let's just say one of them will have the lead. Do you think it'll be Hall of Fame right here, who technically is faster on paper early with a 1:31 time for him? Or do you think it'll be Track Phantom, who basically has only been on the lead in almost every start? What's your gut feeling on who's going to have the lead if it's one of those two?
I think it would probably be Hall of Fame. I feel like Track Phantom right now is a little one-dimensional. So what Steve might do is he might kind of get a little bit of a tactic change and see if that kind of helps out his other horse and let Hall of Fame kind of go. Yeah, it would be interesting to see if Track Phantom will sit off and if he's not able to, he's still got points. So it's not totally the end of the world. For Track Phantom.
I totally agree with you, Noah. And we didn't talk about this before the show. I totally agree with you. Plus Rosario's not, I mean, he can send, but he's not really a need the lead send kind of guy, where I think Santana, who's on the inside of him, will be more aggressive just naturally. So I do agree with you. I think Hall of Fame will be on the lead. I think Track Phantom's going to be stalking, but there is other speed. I mean, Cardinal is not slow for Pletcher, although he's taking the blinkers off. I think the outside horse, B Dancer, has got to go from there. So again, I think there is going to be some tactical speed in the race, but I don't think it's going to be blazing, which is more reason why for me and for us, I believe Sierra Leone needs to be, somewhere mid-pack. Again, we'll talk about this race a lot more on the show Thursday. I'll just ask you one snapshot question. I'll put your feet to the fire. Where is Sierra Leone going to finish on Saturday? What place would you guess as of right now?
First, and he's in. Make it easy.
Wow. Okay. Hey, I believe he's going to finish. You'll find out in my video. How's that? I'll send out my private video. Everyone will find out. But it is clearly, Noah, the best prep of. And I'll tell you this, Noah. I know Dornock's out there who's going to run, I believe, in the Fountain of Youth. And if he wins, he'll probably, stay the favorite. I'm going to make an opinion here. Unless this race on Saturday comes up slow and it just, it's not a very good fig. To me, the winner of the race Saturday will be the Derby favorite for the next several weeks, if not month, until the 100-point preps. I really think this is by far the strongest prep we've seen of the year. And there's legitimate 3 or 4 Derby contenders in this race. When I say contender, no, I mean has a legitimate chance to win the damn thing in May. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. I certainly would. I certainly would take that race over anything that we've seen right now, just because you know that these horses are talented, they're improving, and so it's going to be interesting to see, if there's that one horse that kind of puts themselves above others, because there's really not. It kind of was fierceness, but now that he's kind of thrown in that dud, it's a little kind of tough to see who the favorite is right now.
The fierceness vibe is, look, it's just one race. We talked about it. The fierceness vibe right now is not good. I even have a gut feeling that Ripoli's not even sure, to be honest. So please comment in the chat, the live chat right now. We got a lot of people watching. What's your opinion on the Risen Star? If you had to make a decision right now, who would you go with? Of course, we've got several days to talk about who's your Risen Star pick. Put that in the chat. And if you're watching as a replay, or if you're listening as a replay later on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor, go to the YouTube channel, and below our video player in the comments, we want to have a ton of comments below the video player. Who do you believe will win the Risen Star this Saturday? Your thoughts on Maymoon, your thoughts on No More Time in the Sam F. Davis, and your thoughts on the Super Bowl, which we're going to be talking about here in a minute. Look who's here in the chat here. Kyle Roscoe, host of Bet and Boozin'. Well, we know who's going to win Saturday, so then we know the Derby favorite. Well, I think you're right. Well, I hope you're right, Kyle. We hope it's Sierra Leone about that. Paul Conlon from North Dakota is here. Timberlake is waiting in the wings. Timberlake was a very good horse last year as a 2-year-old for Cox Noah that ran a very poor effort in the Breeders' Cup juvenile. He's been outworking Catching Freedom, who's in this race in the morning. Has been looking very good by the clockers. I wouldn't sleep on Timberlake. I was sort of a fan of his last year. He was just really bad in the juvenile. We were there in person, but there were a lot of horses that just weren't great in the juvenile, frankly.
Yeah, it's the juvenile was just kind of fierce, and this just ran a hole in the wind, and everybody else kind of got left in the dust. I'm pretty sure he's kind of been off by then or since then. But like you said, he had a really nice work, kind of putting away Catching Freedom. So it'll be interesting to see where Cox. I haven't heard anything about Timberlake. I don't know where Cox intends on sending him. Have you?
Yeah, I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say the Rebel. I'm just guessing. I don't have inside intel. I know he likes to run horses at Oaklawn. He's really not a Gulfstream guy per se. He doesn't take that trail. And he's obviously not running this weekend. I mean, he'll run horses, of course, at the fairgrounds. So I'm guessing the Rebel, but that's what Paul Collins says, the Rebel. I don't know if that's known for sure. I haven't heard announced. But anyway, there's a lot of good horses. And by the way, Noah, this Saturday at the fairgrounds, and Paul and people have more information on picks and ponies on Thursday. The undercard's unbelievable. There's a bunch of great stake races. There's some really good maidens and allowance races. Nash is running, by the way, Noah, in an allowance race, trying to get back on the beam. So it's interesting that Nash is not running in the Risen Star. I actually wish he was, to create more pace for Sierra Leone. But anyway, there are a lot of really good horses running Saturday at the fairgrounds. Unfortunately, the weather does look like it's going to be okay as of now. Maybe a chance of rain. Sierra Leone ran great in the mud. That'd be fine with me if they had a little moisture in the track. No, let's end with a certain football game. Last night, why does it feel like longer than that? I think we're all just a little tired. Or
can we just make the Monday after the Super Bowl just a national holiday? I mean, it's just year after year, everybody's just complaining about how tired they are. I mean, why can't we just do that?
Let me tell you something. School today was now Mondays. Everyone's got the Monday blahs in general. Yeah, I know. Obviously, you're a student as well. College is different, I suppose, but maybe not. It was pretty quiet at school today. It wasn't a lot of excitement. It was hard to get going for staff, for students, for everyone. It was sort of one of those kind of days. Let's talk about the Super Bowl. And there's a lot of things we can talk about. We're just going to talk for about 10 minutes, Noah. First of all, let's just get right down to it. Who was your pick? Remind everyone, because you guys did talk about last Wednesday on Bet and Boozin'. Who is your pick, and just your overall thoughts on the game? Then we'll go into a few details.
So my pick last weekend on the Bet and Boozin' show was the San Francisco 49ers. It was a little biased because my mom's from the Bay Area, so she's a big Niners fan, and I watched it with her, obviously. So I was rooting for them. My thought is, if you give a quarterback like Mahomes, if there's blood in the water, a shark's gonna smell it, and it's just kind of what I kind of thought from that game. I mean, if you give Mahomes time, and he's just so deadly. I mean, it just happens again and again. He just he just proves people wrong. It just, it's like you ask that question, can he do it again? And he just answers the question. And it's just, it's a little,
As someone who was rooting for San Francisco. Yeah, I'm sorry. As someone who's rooting for San Francisco, Noah, yesterday, I just kept, and you were. Now, I didn't bet the game straight out, although I thought Kansas City was going to win. And my prediction actually was pretty good last Wednesday. I said 24-21 Kansas City. Damn, I was 2 points off. I suck. I just kept thinking that first half, Noah, San Francisco should be up by more. San Francisco should be up by more. And the more they let Kansas City hang around, and some of that you got to give credit to the KC defense, but man, I just have a feeling as a San Francisco fan, even at halftime, you probably weren't feeling that good.
Well, no, I mean, the first drive of the game, San Francisco just absolutely ran it down their throat. And McCaffrey ended up fumbling, I think, in the red zone. So completely shut that off. I mean, they should have been up 17-3 at half. And, they got that interception. They picked Mahomes off to start the second half. And if you go down and score a touchdown there, I mean, you kind of put the nail in the coffin, and they just couldn't quite do it. And I thought Shanahan's play calling was a little skeptical at times. McCaffrey's the best runner and pass catcher on the field, and he seemed a little bit neutralized at times. First downs, they were going empty, and, it's running play action when they should have just stuck to their plan. And, it's a little frustrating to see that, just because I thought San Francisco was a better team, and they just kind of failed to put them away. And like I said, Mahomes just does that to you when you don't put them away.
Yeah. Hello, Tom. What's up? We got Tom is in the chat. Tom, I believe, is new. I haven't seen him before. Tom, thanks for joining the show. Greatly appreciate it. Check out our other shows, Tom, that we have on. Actually, we're going to go tomorrow night with Betting and Booze, and then Thursday, Picks and Ponies. But go ahead and check those shows out as well. Thanks for joining the show, Tom. Really quick, I thought Kansas City was going to win. I just never go against Mahomes. This is an interesting question for you and for people in the chat. I always thought before the Super Bowl, or even maybe before the NFC Championship game, I had the career of certain guys better than Mahomes. One of those guys was Aaron Rodgers, and I'm not obviously a Green Bay fan since I'm a Bears fan. But as a career, for me, Mahomes passed Aaron Rodgers in the NFC Championship game. After last night, for me, and I'm an older guy, not like you, I have Mahomes as the second best quarterback in NFL history. Am I crazy? I think he's right behind Brady right now.
I don't think it's entirely insane. You just see the success that he's had over the last 4 or 5 years, and it's very replicable of what Brady has done. Personally, I do not like Aaron Rodgers one bit. I just think he's kind of a D-bag. I wish Patrick could kind of say that for me. But you have to respect his game. But I still think, the success that.
Well, listen, I agree with you. I'm just talking about talent. I don't like the guy personally, but I'm just talking about football talent. I don't know. We can get into other stuff later, okay?
Yeah, I don't need to get my blood boiling here at 9:00 at night. I don't think that's not entirely out of question. If he's as good as him, I don't know if he's there yet. He's still got a lot of career ahead of him, but he's damn good right now, and it's going to be interesting to see who can stop him. Somebody's going to have to come out of either the AFC, like a Burrow or an Allen, or out of the NFC. It'll be interesting. Maybe Lamar, but right now Mahomes he's on an island.
I mean, as a Gen Z guy, Noah, Mahomes is your Brady. I mean, he's the best quarterback. I mean, obviously you saw Brady play. You're not that young, but I mean, Brady's prime was, 7-8 years ago per se. I mean, this is this generation's Brady. I mean, and guys like Marino and Elway, obviously of, and maybe you saw highlights, but you never saw play in person. Obviously, you probably saw Peyton Manning play, I'm assuming, in person, obviously, and he broke a lot of records. But there's something about Mahomes' magic, man. He just like a video game, and he just always seems to make the right plays. And he's exciting to watch too. It's not just that he's winning; he's just a very likable guy, and he's exciting to watch. So hats off to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, yeah. I just think he's a winner. They and that on that overtime drive. I think when they were backed up, they're 25 or 30, and it was 4th and 1, and Andy Reid has that trust in him to run kind of the run pass option where I think he ran for 10 or 12 yards, and I think he ran several times in that drive. So I mean, talk about a guy that's doing what he's taking what the defense gives him, and he's willing to put his body on the line for another championship. Brady wasn't a guy that ran like that, but just that mentality itself, he's got it.
Strategy wise, let's talk about two things real quick, then we'll end the show. I got to give Kyle Shanahan a ton of credit for one thing. I know a lot of people thought he got out coached and he should have run the ball more. We can go on and on, but when he went for on 4th and 3 instead of tying the game, that was ballsy, and I got to give him credit for that move. I think that was what was that? Was that the first? I think it was the second half, but that was a real ballsy move. That being said, and you're an intelligent young man who understands mathematics, also like I do. Winning the toss and then deciding to take the ball in that situation. I know some people were saying the 49er defense was tired, blah, blah, blah. You know what? They're all goddamn tired. It's the Super Bowl. I think that was a major mistake, Noah. I don't know if they would have won, but you have to play defense first in that situation, in my opinion, in overtime. Thoughts on that decision?
I actually would kind of push back a little bit. I thought it was the right move just because I felt like San Francisco had the Kansas City Chiefs, their defense, kind of on the ropes. I thought they were kind of ready to kind of stick a fork in them. I don't know if it was so much that the Niners defense was tired, just because, I mean, the Chiefs went down and scored in less than 2 minutes. I just think, I don't know. I didn't think the Chiefs could really hang with them. I always think about it as like in terms of golf, because I'm a golfer as Howard is, and a lot of people. I feel like when you're golfing, you kind of want to put the pressure on somebody else. And I think Shanahan knew who was on the other side. I mean, if you give Mahomes any kind of time or any kind of target, I feel like more times than not he's going to go down and score anyways. So I feel like the thought there was just kind of put the pressure on them after they had kind of already tied it and brought it to overtime. Wow.
What thoughts from Matt Miller? We talked a little bit. I mean, his argument and a lot of people's argument is if you take the ball first, you basically on 4th down you have to kick, punt. While if you get the ball second, you basically have 4 downs versus 3 downs on the first possession, if you follow my logic.
Yeah, because if you take it, you don't. If you're going to go for it, that'd be stupid. I mean, you're giving the ball back rather than if you get it second, you've got you're not giving it back to them because they've already gone and scored, so you're going to have to go down and score anyways. But I'm just I don't know. It's kind of tough. I heard a lot of stuff where the 49ers, the team itself, didn't know the rules and the Chiefs did. Yeah. I don't know if that's just speculation, but I don't know how you can not.
Players that were quoted saying that's inexcusable, Noah. That just can't happen.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's like a golfer not knowing the rules, not knowing what the difference between a lateral hazard and something else. I mean, that can't happen. I mean, not that you know those rules. You don't need to know those rules. You're always right down the middle of the fairway, of course, but
Well, that's not really the point. But I mean, if you're a playoff team, there's a chance that you go into overtime. So I mean, you don't address the overtime rules to your team. I don't know. It's just weird. Just weird stuff.
Hard to believe. Well, it was an exciting Super Bowl. I will just leave it at this. This is a message for our good friend Charlie Freeman of Ben and Boozin, who goes to the Ohio State University and wants to keep Justin Fields because we're both Bears fans. I think this game proves to me exactly why you don't keep Justin Fields, Noah, because this is a quarterback league, and by every measure, San Francisco had the best roster in the league in totality. They were a better team than Kansas City. In fact, I could still argue they're a better team overall. They had some injuries, but man, just comes down to quarterback play. And it's not like Purdy was bad. I mean, Purdy was fine. You could even argue he was good. I wouldn't say that he was great. He was good, but it's a quarterback-driven league, and that's why the Bears should go for Caleb Williams or whoever they think will, be better than Justin Fields. That's just my opinion. But I think the Super Bowl sort of proves my point. Any last thoughts on not necessarily what the Bears should do, but the situation of staying with a guy that is, good but has potential, but compared to maybe just going for it with a possible superstar? Your just thoughts on that in general at any position in football or any sport for that matter.
Well, in terms of last night's game, Purdy didn't lose him the game. Purdy played phenomenal, I thought. I thought he outplayed Mahomes in the first half. Second half and overtime, Mahomes just kind of, overtook things, kind of took things into his hands. But in terms of, talented quarterbacks moving forward, that's more of a Charlie Freeman subject than me.
Okay. All right. We'll let Charlie say what that. No, it was a lot of fun tonight. Again, big week here on the HH Racing Podcast. I will have 2 videos I'm going to be sending out on the YouTube channel. One for the merch store that's going to be opening up next week, where you can buy fantastic merchandise. Some of them possibly free. No joke. You'll find out. And then also I'll send out a detailed video on my opinions of the Risen Star Stakes. We talked on a little bit. We'll break down the field, and I'll go over my top 3. And the reason I'm doing that, for many reasons, but one main reason is because I will not be on the live show Thursday night. Noah, thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. I hope everyone had fun. Please make sure you check out Bettin' and Boozin' tomorrow, Tuesday night, as we're filming here on Monday night, and then Picks and Ponies on Thursday night. For co-hosts of Bettin' and Boozin', good friend Noah Maher. This has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 8 of Horsin Around. Crush your bets wherever you play this weekend, especially in the fairgrounds for the Risen Star. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing Podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.